What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Mercury in Sagittarius in the 10th house. And this is kind of an exciting one, I think, for Mercury here. Now, when you talk about Mercury, we're already doing some mercurial things. Mercury can cover how we communicate. It also can deal with how we understand things, practical wisdom, forethought, reasoning. Yeah, understanding things along those realms. Those are going to be knowledge. Those are going to be some of the aspects that Mercury covers. Then we talk about Sagittarius. Sagittarius, they're ruled by Big Papa, Jupiter, and they are the mutable fire sign, and they're active or yang in nature. And I find that Sagittarius energy, just in general, has this adventurer side of them. I feel like there's a quest for something bigger. The fire energy is always moving, always evolving with Sagittarius. In that, so I think that that's what kind of fuels that quest for something, for that philosopher's quest, the great journey. I think with Sagittarius there, and it can do something really inspiring about Sagittarius, but the energy can also bring this enthusiasm and optimism, because this life is brilliant and there is so much to experience and so much to see, so much to learn. The philosophers, I think of the zodiac. And then you get into the 10th house. The 10th house in traditional astrology is known as the midheaven. And that's not to be confused with theirs. I work with whole sign, and there's also a point, which I might even do a little series on those points as well. But it's, when we're talking about the midheaven, there's also a point for the MC, which is the medium coeli, which is like the highest point of the chart. And that could either fall in like the 9th, 10th, or 11th house. But specifically in just the 10th house themes, this is one of the angular houses. So this is a very strong house when we're working with this house. But some of the themes that this covers are going to be like your any sort of honors, any ranks, achievements, ambitions. This can deal with like your occupation, your vocation, the actions and masteries of skills. This could be your public role in society, what you get recognized for. This house can even deal with like marriage and children and things. There's another aspect that this can cover as well. I think those are going to be rough details about what the house covers. So when you're working with this placement, a couple things to consider. You'd have a Pisces rising by whole sign, and you're going to want to look to Jupiter, because Big Papa is going to be in charge of this 10th house and of your first house, which is your house of yourself, the body, the beginning of all actions. And then Mercury is going to be in charge of your 4th house, which is the house of the home, which is opposing, Mercury, opposing that mercurial house, or that where Mercury's at right now in Gemini. But also it's home, ancestors, family, things like that. And also it's going to rule your 7th house, which is going to be like your relationships, as far as like any one-on-one. This can be spousal, this can be mentor and mentee, this can be like doctor, patient, things along those lines. Living abroad is another thing that comes up with this house. So some things that I would talk about with this person, with it having, because this is an interesting one for Mercury to be in, because Sagittarius is where Mercury finds itself in its detriment. And when a planet is in detriment, you can think of it as it's working in a space that it's not its home. It's farthest away from its opposite home of Gemini. And I find that think of it as like, if in your space, where everything is, how everything works. It's second nature. Now put yourself in somebody else's home. You've never been there. You don't know the language. You turn on the switch and then the refrigerator opens. You must be in Aquarius's house. But that's what a planet in detriment can kind of feel like sometimes. It's just like a little unfamiliar. And I find with Mercury in Sag, though, Mercury in Sag to me is really kind of inspired, really kind of goes, I think this would be a very active mind and something that people would recognize you for. You may find yourself maybe switching up different vocations, because I remember hearing this thing about another Mercury in Sag saying that it's like a shooting star, it's inspiration here, inspiration there. So you may find yourself, one minute you're working as a plumber, next thing you're working as a musician, the next you're a carpenter, next you're an IT person, just kind of going where where just the mind feels. And where I think that that's fine, having those multiple interests. But I think the thing is, it's like the maybe one of the trickiness with Mercury is that it just spreads itself too thin, or maybe has these really grand ideas but doesn't know, depending on your chart, maybe doesn't have a lot of ways to ground that. And that could be where you're needing to look to your relationships, your partnerships, that how Mercury rules Virgo, finding people who can help put your interest in things into practical application. And then in turn, you may find yourself doing that for other people as well. I could see this even as I would invite this Mercury to go travel. You may do something where maybe go live abroad for a little while. Go teach, maybe go teach a language in another country. That could be something that's very beneficial for you. You may find yourself even maybe like exploring, like maybe doing like stuff on the move where you're living like a digital nomad lifestyle, or maybe you work different contracts where you're doing just like an oddball job here, doing something there, just kind of maybe always on the move. I could see this as a very busy type of Mercury here. And if this is not like actual movement, then I could just even see this as just like hitting like the books a lot. Someone who's very knowledgeable, learns a lot of things here. I could even see this as someone who maybe looks into maybe different. I was getting like me thinking about like maybe like a historian type of level, because just considering that Mercury rules that fourth house, looking into different cultures and things like that, learning from the past, that could even be something then. And I tell you what, those jobs like historians or things like that, that takes you to the coolest of places. You may find yourself in like Egypt, and maybe you're going to like London, maybe you're going to Australia, maybe you're going to wherever you're going to. Maybe you're going everywhere. So that's another thing that I would think about with this placement. And maybe another challenge that might come up here with this placement is just like finding people who can keep up with that sort of nomadic lifestyle, maybe, if that's something that's resonating with you. But that doesn't mean that you can't, get into like a kind of solid relationship. But I think that there's something that Mercury does need to have some sort of stimulation, something where it's learning something, where it is growing. You know what I mean? I think that is going to be something where you want to find a partner in friendships and relationships that are going to promote that, where you're growing and then you're giving this back to other people too. I think there's something there, even like becoming like a teacher, I can see as another aspect. And look to Jupiter could even bring you some signs, like more kind of specifically, if you're not sure what your interests are, maybe you find yourself wanting to do like all the things, and then because of that you don't really do anything. That might be something too, just always inspired. So that just again, I think that that's something too, to just have a relationship that can just help you kind of ground those ideas and things. And I think that this Mercury could do a lot of, be very beneficial, of course, for yourself, but for the people and the relationships that you meet, and even for the relationships, or like even in like your family and things. You may find it where your family is just like moving, maybe do something like with the military, possibly, where you're moving around a little bit, but kind of opens even your family life up to new experiences and things along those lines. So those would just be some kind of just basic things that I would talk about with someone about this placement. You definitely need the whole chart to get a better idea of how this is looking. But if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement, and in the comments section, tell us how this manifests, because I would be very curious to see how this would look. Because I really think when you have Mercury in the 10th house, it really is just a matter of like what inspires you. What do you think? Like what do you think is your calling, and then exploring that, being curious and being open to expand your foundation here. And again, finding the people who can help you bridge those gaps. But if you need someone to help bridge that gap, if you want to work with me, down in the description box, there's a link to get in touch with me, and we'll go over the services that I provide and just kind of go from there. And if you want to know what's going on with the transits, because we got a lot of mutable energy right now, this might be kind of squaring you got your first house is really active right now. But if you want to follow the transits, I do weekly videos that actually come out every Mercury day. That's a Wednesday. And it just talks about what sign the celestial bodies are in and how to work with them, where to look for, to what house to look for, houses to look for, to see where this is happening in for you, just to kind of be better prepared for the weather that's going on outside. And then I also do, if you want to work with the moon, there is a link for my other channel, The Chariot Friends, where I release videos every time the moon changes signs, and I talk about what phase it's in and when it's going void of course, and do a tarot and an I Ching reading in there as well. So it's a good old time. But that's all I got for you on this one. So until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Later.